Well, good afternoon. It is such a pleasure and an honor to be here. I love coming here. I am just a fan of Market Creek Village, just a big fan. I get inspired when I come. It reinforces for me that the things that we are advocates for are truly possible. And I get such a kick out of seeing the ideas become reality because we've been together talking about these things that I hear an idea, I don't come back for a couple of months, and the next time I come, it's a reality. It is just such a joy, such a joy. I am so happy to be here, and I'm having such a good time. Was speaking last night to the investors, had a conversation earlier this morning with some of your leaders, and now to be here with all of you, it's just wonderful, and the lunch was wonderful. I want to talk about opportunity and the opportunity that we all have to achieve the things that we've been committed to for a long time. It is out of crisis that some of our most important opportunities come. But in order to take advantage of opportunity when it surprisingly presents itself, and it's always a surprise when you get an opportunity. You're going along, you're not sure how you're going to get to where you want to go, and then there opens up a path. And we have paths that are opening up every day in the most remarkable way. But I don't think that we will be able to take advantage of the opening paths and the opportunities if we don't have a clear vision of what it is we need to do. I think that one of the things that we all really want is to build this inclusive society. I think we want that because we need it. We need it because as a nation, we don't get to actually achieve the dream of the democracy or the dream of the nation. Well, where I wanted to go now is that we can't take advantage of these amazing opportunities in front of us if we don't have a sense of exactly where we want to go. And I feel that everybody in the nation really wants to build an inclusive society, whether people know that or not. The reason that we all need to build an inclusive society is that the country needs it. It needs it in order to prosper. It needs it in order to be competitive in this global economy. It needs it in order to be able to finally realize the dream and the promise of democracy, that everybody can participate, that everybody's voice can count. The reality of where we are right now is that we can know our future. 2042, that's the year. 2042. That is the year that the census tells us that this country will become a country in which the majority of people who live here are people who have come from minority groups. People who once were minorities collectively will make up the majority. So we know the year that that will happen. We also know what that reality will be if we don't intervene, and we can easily dream about what it would be if we do intervene. If we don't intervene, what we know is that the people who will make up the majority will continue on the path that they are on, and that is one in which we have disproportionate poverty among people who are black and brown and many other people of color, and many people in this nation who are low income now will continue to be very low income. We know that the health disparities that we worry about will only increase as obesity and diabetes and stroke and heart disease become more prevalent because many of the people who are being left behind now have many more of those conditions. We know that the expenditures that we have to make to incarcerate people will continue to go up because the incarceration rate has gone up enormously for the people who have been left behind. And so we know that if we don't act, that the future is not one that any of us will feel good about. The good news is that we know what will happen if we do act, because we have been acting all across this country. I always say that you show me a problem, and I can walk you right into a community where people have successfully addressed that problem, whether we're talking about how to make sure that children begin school ready to learn, that young people who have issues in their lives can reclaim their lives and go on to reach their full potential, that families that are troubled can become healthy families that are working for each other, that communities that have been abandoned and disinvested can become true communities of opportunity, that people who have gotten into trouble and gone into the criminal justice system and been incarcerated can return to community, can find their aspirations, and can begin to really realize their dreams too, that people who have been unemployed can become employed, that people who have been untrained can become trained. Everything we need to do, we know how to do. So if we gather that up, if we find the examples of what really makes a difference, if we shine a bright light on it, if we tease out what the implications are to create policies that would allow the best that we know to flourish, then we can rewrite the future, can't we? We can rewrite the future because we know what our future will be in terms of who it will be. We know where we will go if we don't act, and we know what will happen if we do act. And so the country needs it because we're the most diverse country on the face of the earth. And if democracy can work in the context of this diversity, then democracy is something worth being proud of. And so everybody has a stake in building an inclusive society. And so when we think about it and we wonder, how are we going to grow? How are we going to develop? I think in our hearts, we know that equity is the superior growth model. The superior growth model. We could grow in any number of ways. But if we choose to grow in a way in which we invest in every single individual, in which we pay attention to those who need the most investment, that if we try to plan communities that allow everybody access to everything they need, then we grow together, we go stronger, and we grow in a way that is sustainable. If we only grow the top 1%, if we only grow the people who live in a few gated communities, if we only grow people who are involved in only a few sectors of society, some people will do very well, but we collectively will not do very well. And we will find out, just as we have found out starkly since September, that every growth model is not a good growth model, that the model that we've been using has not been a good one. And therefore, we have to ask ourselves, as we acknowledge, because we couldn't help but do it, that we're in crisis, and we begin to do something about the crisis, and right now we're doing it through the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, that we have to say that we don't want to recover to what we were. We don't want to recover to what we were. We want to recover to something different. We want to recover to something more inclusive. We want to recover to something more sustainable.